Hey there, guys, gals, and gearheads. Welcome to my channel, Downshift Dining. Now, during the day, I'm doing all the usual, working on classic cars, building nice hot rods, but we can't live on that forever. And if you're pressed for time, I think I've got a few good things in mind. So first, we have to go and get ourselves to the parts store. And with that being said, welcome to Downshift Dining. All right, guys, so starting off with something real easy, something everyone loves, is mac and cheese. What we've got here is just a little bit of flour, a little bit of butter, a mild jalapeno. I've got some cheese here. It's sharp cheddar and jalapeno jack. Now, I did shred these from the block. I prefer it that way because the cellulose on the pre-shredded packets just changes the flavor a little bit and it doesn't get that silky smooth consistency that we're looking for. You can use any noodle. What I've got in front of me here is campanelli. I've got 2 cups of it, so we're gonna go ahead and get that onto a rolling boil, and I'll show you what to do with the next steps. All right, so first off, we're gonna get our water boiling for our pasta. Always remember, salt your pasta. It doesn't really matter how much. We'll add that much, we'll add that much, maybe just a little bit more. It should just about taste like the ocean. All right, now that we're at a rolling boil, we're gonna go ahead and add our canoodles. All right, guys, the noodles have been boiling for about 10-12 minutes. I do prefer my noodles just a little bit al dente, so I think that's perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and strain these, put them aside, and then next we're gonna build our sauce, starting with a roux. All right, and with our equal parts butter and flour inside the pot, we're just gonna keep on stirring it. I am gonna turn down the heat a little bit further. We're not looking for that many bubbles that quickly. And what we're doing here is we're just emulsifying the fat with the flour. Now this is a thickener. And to build the sauce, once we add our milk to it, you'll see some magic happen. For the sauce I'm making today, it's a bechamel. So we're gonna use just a whole fat milk, regular milk, doesn't really matter. Now one thing you do have to do is constantly stir and stir, because this butter and flour will just about burn immediately if you look at it wrong. Now, bechamel sauce is one of the 5 French mother sauces, and that'll be something I'll describe in later episodes, but a bechamel is a great one to start out with. It's very easy, and you can do a lot with it. And after a couple of minutes, that flour taste inside the butter will have dissipated. So now, we're gonna whisk in our milk. Now I'm going to start off with about 2/3 of a cup into this pot. Now it seems really thin and liquidy right now, but as this heats up, this is actually going to start thickening a whole bunch. And look at that, we're getting that nice velvety consistency. And there it goes. Yeah, sometimes you could put a little pinch of salt inside your bechamel if you're having it just kind of as an accent on a croque madame or a croque monsieur. But with how much salt the cheese has in it, we're gonna go ahead and skip that step as well. I'm adding just a little bit more milk. I am looking for a slightly thinner consistency than a regular bechamel, because that cheese is gonna really hold things up. I mean, look at that. That's the consistency we're looking for now. Now that it's thickened up, we're kind of like a thin pancake batter. Now you're gonna want to keep your heat really low. I actually have the cooktop turned off. If you get your cheese too hot, you can make this gritty consistency. We're gonna go ahead and just start adding in some cheese. Now that's the fun part. Like I said earlier, this is some jalapeno jack that I shredded and some cheddar that I shredded. I probably shredded a little bit too much, but that's a good snack for later. And we're just gonna go ahead and whisk that in. Now, if I remember right, the temperature you wanna try to stay below is about 160 or so. Anything higher than that, I think the fats separate from the cheddar, and that's where you get that gritty, pasty sauce, and, well, that doesn't make for good mac and cheese. And look at that cheese sauce. Now, I'm not looking for a stringy, cheesy pull, because I still need it to mix with the pasta that we have set aside. but it's just a beautiful silky smooth. We're gonna go ahead and add in a pinch of cheddar. And we're gonna whisk that in. Oh, look at that sauce, guys. This is gonna be just a beautiful, silky smooth. And all right, our sauce is almost done. Look how velvety smooth that is. Now there is one more thing that's going to take this mac and cheese and make it better than any boxed mac and cheese you've ever had. We're going to go ahead and take a jalapeno and just set it on fire for a while. And if you don't have a gas cooktop available, MAP gas or a propane torch will be just fine. Oxyacetylene might leave a little bit too much soot. We're just going to go ahead and keep this on the fire and give it a little rotate every now and then until the whole outside is pretty well blackened. All right, and that's about what you're looking for right there. So we're gonna go ahead and kill the heat and take our chili pepper and just put it into a little bag, kind of seal it off a little bit. What that's gonna do is the heat, you can already see it happening right now, the heat is gonna continue to steam that skin and it'll come right off in a few minutes. All right, guys, the jalapeno's been inside this bag for a few minutes. We're gonna go ahead and peel the skin off, which it should come off real easy at this point. In fact, a lot of it's still sticking to the bag. Now from here, I'm just gonna brush my thumb on it. And there goes all that nice charred skin. It is still pretty hot, so be careful of that. Now you don't have to get every speck off, you know, in fact, a little bit of the char is also kind of nice for the flavor, I think. We're gonna open it, scoop out all your seeds. Now with most all seeds removed, we can just go ahead and cut this up kind of willy-nilly like, just little pieces. I'm going to cut through some of these pieces just a few more times because we don't want too big of bites of jalapeno in our mac and cheese, but we do need it for the little flavor. And now we're going to add our fire roasted jalapeno right to our cheesy sauce. Just like that. We're going to go ahead and stir this in. Now, the sauce is still pretty darn hot. Oh, just look at that, guys. The noodles are going to be great in here. And now it's time to add the noodles. Now, this sauce here only takes about 5 minutes to make, maybe 6 minutes. And, oh, it just makes such a wonderful little batch of mac and cheese. Alright guys, and there you have it. Homemade mac and cheese, silky smooth with a little kick of spice. Alright, now time for a wonderful dinner. You're not going to need much. A can of chicken broth, some breast tenders that we picked up from the store today. We're back to that jalapeno jack, a nice fresh baguette, which will actually have a use after this meal, a little bit of butter, and some salts and seasonings, whatever sounds good to you. Once you see how this is all made, you can decide what kind of seasonings you want. For the chicken, I'm keeping it pretty simple with just a little bit of Lowry's garlic salt. So we're gonna go ahead and get some butter into our pan. And we're gonna get the pan pretty darn hot. Like, I want this cast iron to smoke a little bit because we want those chicken tenders to get a nice little bit of color on them. Then we're gonna pull them aside and build yet again another cheese sauce in the pan. I also forgot to mention, we need some green bell pepper and some yellow Vidalia onion. And while our pan is heating up, I'm gonna go ahead and slice up our bell pepper and onion. Now, I do have a trash can down here. I don't want you thinking I'm just, going willy-nilly and putting all the ingredients, on the floor. Okay, with our bell pepper all cleaned out, we can go ahead and cut off the bottom of our onion, the top of our onion, cut it in half. I'm gonna go ahead and peel off the skin. And I'm cutting this up pretty thin. And our pan is just now starting to smoke. We're almost there. The bell pepper, same thing. I'm cutting it up into thin, long strips. And once I have it all in long strips, cut it right in half. It looks like we'll just need just a little bit more. Okay, we got our bell pepper, we got our onion. Those are going to be put aside. All right, that pan is getting nice and smoky. We're going to go ahead and lay in our chicken. And we want to keep the chicken kind of separated because we don't want them to steam each other. We want to try to get some color on them. There we go. All right, we're getting some nice color on that chicken. And once the chicken's just about done, we're going to go ahead and put it aside. Now, if you don't have a meat thermometer, it is okay to do a cheat cut. We are going to be slicing this up a little bit later. And all right, my chicken here is about 168 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and remove it from the pan. And it just looks beautiful. Now, this will continue to cook just a little bit more. Sometimes I like to pull my chicken at about 160, 158. If it's something like this, it'll gain a few more degrees as it rests. Now, in this same pan, we have a little bit of the fat from the chicken that's rendered out, but we're going to add just a little bit more butter. We're going to add a nice little teaspoon of butter or so. Now, the heat is on about a medium-low. We're going to go ahead and take our onions and pull them all apart. Get them all inside there, along with our bell pepper. Now we're going to saute these on a pretty low heat for about 10 minutes or so, 8 minutes. A little pinch of salt on your onions helps extract the moisture from them, and it also makes them have just a nice little darker of a color here. So we're going to go ahead and toss them around. Now you might be seeing me not use a spatula here. One, my hands are clean, but two, I've welded for the past 15 years without gloves, so you can just reach right into a nice hot pan. Probably not a deep fryer though. So we're going to go ahead and let those sweat down a little bit, get nice and soft. Then we're going to pull these aside. Then we're going to build the final thing inside this pan. All right, our bell pepper and onion is cooking down quite nicely. While they're doing their thing, I went ahead and cut up my chicken into small chunks. Now next, I'm going to brush a little bit of mayonnaise on the inside portions of my buns in preparation for the broiler. To those of you that have never tried this, I'm not a mayonnaise fan. I never put it on anything, but I will say that it makes a beautiful golden color on your bread, whether you're doing a grilled cheese in the pan or doing what I'm doing and broiling it in the oven. Looks like our vegetables are most of the way done. Oh yeah, the onions are getting nice and soft. Now I don't want them to be complete mush, but we're just looking to kind of saute everything down. All right, our bell pepper and onion is just about done, so I'm going to go ahead and start just cutting up the cheese all willy-nilly like. We're not looking for anything uniform. This is all going to be melted in with a little bit of chicken broth in a pretty hot pan. When we reheat the chicken, throw in our vegetables, this is all going to melt and make just a big, gooey, meaty mess. Okay, we're going to go ahead and pull these vegetables out of the pan. They're just a really nice, got a little bit of caramelization to them. They're quite a bit softer. And we're going to go ahead and leave this pan right on the heat, and I'm actually going to crank it up a little bit. Now, it was on a medium-low for sauteing the vegetables. You always want to kind of do your onions and bell pepper, etc. You always want to kind of do them a little bit on the low and slow side. All right, we got our onions and bell pepper. We got our chicken. Now, the cheese isn't going in here just yet. No. We need our chicken. We need a little bit of beef broth. Or I'm sorry, chicken broth. I do this quite often normally with beef, usually a flank steak or a piece of New York, so it's just a little bit out of my realm to do with chicken. Now before we get too crazy with this, the pan's still coming back up to temperature. I'm gonna throw my bread in the broiler. So now that our pan's starting to smoke, we're gonna go ahead and just add in our chicken along with all the drippings that it had on the plate. We're going to add just a little bit of broth, maybe, 4 or 5 tablespoons. And then from there, we add our cheese in. All Right, and after about a minute or so, that cheese is starting to melt really nicely. We got a good little thick sauce at the bottom, which we do need for this. Now, if there's not much liquid at the bottom, go ahead and add a little pinch more of chicken stock if you're using chicken, or beef stock if you're using beef. Now, like I said, this is not the prettiest of meals, but it makes this beautiful globular. I mean, look at that cheese pull. I mean, that is just gonna make a great sandwich. It looks like our bread is nice and done. On the bottom bun, we're gonna take our concoction here, which is that nice cheesy mess. Put a nice big dollop of it right there. Cover it with our onions and bell pepper. And there you have it, a nice chicken cheesesteak sandwich. All right, let's see how we did here. It's got everything going. We have this nice crunch from the bread from broiling it. We have the juicy chicken, the jalapeno jack cheese, nice and creamy with a little kick of spice. The sweetness of the bell pepper. This is one hell of a sandwich. All right, and for our last and final thing, we're shifting down into first gear. We're gonna need a little bit of rum, the rest of our baguette from earlier, some milk, an egg, a little vanilla extract. Now this one is a bourbon extract, but regular would be just fine. A little brown sugar, a little cinnamon, and what we're making with all this stuff, we're making ourselves a nice little bread pudding with a rum glaze to go on top. Oh, and I almost forgot, we're gonna need a little bit of butter as well. So first off, we're gonna get ourselves a little oven-safe Pyrex type square casserole pan. Now I am making a pretty small amount. This is just for a couple of people here. So we're gonna take some butter and just rub it around inside our pan. Now you could use nonstick spray, it doesn't really matter. And from here, we're just gonna take a whole bunch of chunks of the bread and just kind of throw it in the pan all willy-nilly like. Now it's best if you use stale bread. This bread is not stale, but that'll be just fine. Now there is no real exact science for this. There's a ton of recipes out there, but for this one I'm gonna break one egg and we're gonna add a little bit of vanilla extract. Now not too much, but about half a teaspoon or so. We're gonna throw in a good helping of cinnamon and a good couple of handfuls of brown sugar. We're gonna go ahead and pour in some milk. You could use heavy cream, either or is just fine. And we're gonna give that a good little whisking around. Now what you're looking for is enough liquid that the bread is pretty much floating inside it. And there's one more ingredient I actually forgot to mention, and I think it's a really good one to have, is maple syrup. So we're gonna go ahead and just add in some good old maple syrup. You could use pancake syrup, doesn't really matter. So we're gonna whisk this all around. Once it's well mixed, we're gonna go ahead and put it into our bread. And it's okay if it looks really soupy. Now the bread is going to absorb a lot of that. We're gonna go ahead and just push all the bread in there. Then we'll just kind of let this sit for the next half hour or so. All right, the bread is just about done soaking that up. We're gonna go ahead and make our sauce. Now the sauce is real easy, but probably terrible for the waistline. What we need is a half stick of butter, half cup brown sugar, and our rum. One little bottle, two little bottles. Now we're going to bring this up to temperature and whisk it until the brown sugar is completely dissolved with the butter. The bread's been soaking for about half an hour, and into a 350-degree preheated oven it goes. All right, so the bread pudding is going to be in the oven for about half an hour or so. The way to tell is typically like a cake, you're just going to stab a knife right into it. If the knife comes out clean without any kind of fluid on it, it's good to pull from the oven. Now that our sauce is all nice and emulsified, the sugar has been melted enough into there, we're gonna go ahead and just pull it from the heat, put this thing back into neutral, and in half an hour, we'll pull the bread out, put that sauce on, wait for it to set, and have a bite. All right, guys, well, it's been about 30-35 minutes. The bread pudding's ready to come out of the oven. And I'm gonna go ahead and pour on the rum glaze. Now, while I'm doing that, I should remind you guys that being that this glaze was only at a simmer for about 15 minutes, it still has 40% of its alcohol inside. Alcohol evaporates at about 173 degrees. This was at a really light simmer, and being that alcohol simmers at a much lower temperature than water, that's probably what temperature we were at, 170, 180 at most. So there is still about 40% alcohol remaining in here. It takes a long time to cook it all out. So remember, if you're eating this bread pudding, make sure you got a designated drive home. And can we just take a moment to appreciate just how damn good that looks? We got the nice little crispy bits towards the top. All that nice rum syrup is just slowly soaking into our bread pudding. And I am looking forward to filling that plate up with it. All right, guys, let's see how this is. Yeah, it's been setting for about 10 minutes after I poured the rum sauce on, and it's just an ooey gooey mess. One of the best ooey gooey messes. Now these recipes tonight are probably terrible for weight reduction, but they are pretty darn good for the pocketbook. Now take this bread pudding here, for instance. This is all just leftovers. You know, you could have just an old stale piece of bread, stuff out of the pantry, throw an egg, throw some milk in there, some kind of dark booze if you'd like, and it makes just this fantastic, absolutely fantastic dessert. You get these nice little crunchy bits that were surrounding the edge of the pan. The middle of it is like the softest cinnamon roll you've ever had, and then just double that. You know, it's just fantastic. Well, guys, gals, and gearheads, I appreciate you guys cooking with me today. I hope I could show you a new trick along the way, and I hope you enjoyed the watch. And this is just a good way of making 5-star recipes on a 4-cylinder budget. With that being said, the most important ingredient in any recipe is love.